The new Cabrini-Green is a stark contrast to its predecessor. Gone are the crumbling high-rises and desolate playgrounds. In their place stand luxury apartments and trendy cafes. Young professionals, drawn by the promise of urban renewal, now occupy the spaces where fear once reigned. But some things are harder to erase than brick and mortar. The past has a way of clinging to the present, like shadows stretching across time. The residents of the new Cabrini-Green may not speak of the legend, but they feel it nonetheless. A prickling unease in the dead of night, a sense of being watched from empty hallways. The city may try to bury its past, to pave over the ugliness with concrete and glass. But the wounds of Cabrini-Green run deep, and the Candyman, born from those wounds, is not so easily forgotten. Helen, a young artist with a penchant for the macabre, found herself inexplicably drawn to the story of Cabrini-Green. Her canvases were a tapestry of urban decay and social commentary, her art a reflection of the city's underbelly. The Candyman, with his gruesome origins and haunting presence, became her muse. She devoured every article, every whispered rumour, every grainy photograph she could find. The more she learned, the more fascinated she became. The line between reality and legend blurred. What began as artistic interest morphed into an obsession. She saw the Candyman not just as a monster, but as a victim, a symbol of the systemic racism and violence that continued to plague her city. Her art became a dialogue with the legend, an attempt to understand the darkness that birthed him. Driven by her obsession, Helen ventured into the remnants of Cabrini-Green. The once bustling housing project now stood as a ghostly reminder of its past, its walls adorned with graffiti and its corridors echoing with silence. Armed with her sketchbook and a camera, she sought to capture the essence of the legend. Each click of her camera and stroke of her pencil was an attempt to unravel the mystery that had haunted the community for decades. She spoke to the remaining residents, their faces etched with a lifetime of hardship, their eyes holding a flicker of fear as they recounted their encounters with the Candyman. Their stories were filled with dread, each tale more chilling than the last, painting a picture of a malevolent spirit that thrived on fear. One night, alone in her studio, surrounded by half-finished canvases of the Candyman, Helen felt a chill. The room, usually a sanctuary for her creativity, now felt oppressive, as if the very air was charged with an unseen presence. The air grew thick, heavy. It was as if the walls themselves were closing in, suffocating her with an invisible weight. A name whispered on the wind sent a shiver down her spine. The sound was faint, almost imperceptible, yet it resonated deep within her, stirring a primal fear. Drawn to the mirror, she found herself repeating the words, a morbid curiosity overriding her fear. The legend said that if you called his name 5 times, he would appear. Helen's rational mind battled with her growing dread, but she couldn't resist the pull. 5 times she uttered the name, her voice barely a whisper. Each repetition seemed to echo louder in the stillness of the room, amplifying her anxiety. The mirror rippled, a cold wind whipping through the room. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart, making way for something otherworldly. And then she saw him. His presence was undeniable, a dark figure emerging from the depths of the mirror, his eyes burning with a malevolent intensity. A towering figure shrouded in darkness, a glint of metal where his hand should be. The Candyman stood before her, a terrifying embodiment of the legend she had been chasing. The face in the mirror was no longer her own. It was the Candyman. Her reflection had transformed, merging with the spectral figure, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Panic surged through Helen as she stumbled back from the mirror. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing louder than the last. She could hardly breathe, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts, none of them making any sense. The room around her dissolved into a swirling vortex of shadows and whispers. The walls seemed to melt away, replaced by an endless void that threatened to swallow her whole. She could hear faint ghostly whispers, each one sending a shiver down her spine. She found herself pulled into a cold, damp space. The ground beneath her feet was slick and uneven, making it hard to keep her balance. She reached out, trying to find something solid to hold on to, but her hands met only empty air. The air reeked of decay, and a low hum vibrated through her bones. It was a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a constant reminder of the unnatural place she had found herself in. As her vision cleared, she realized with a gasp that she was surrounded by canvases. They were everywhere, filling the space around her with their eerie presence. Each one seemed to watch her, their painted eyes following her every move. Hundreds of them stretching as far as the eye could see. It was as if she had stepped into a nightmarish art gallery, one where every piece was designed to instill fear and dread. Each one depicted a different face, frozen in a mask of terror. The expressions were so lifelike, so vivid, that she could almost hear their silent screams. It was a gallery of fear, each canvas a testament to the horror that had been captured within. And in the center of it all stood the Candyman. His presence was overwhelming, a dark figure that seemed to draw all the light and hope from the room. He turned to her, his single eye burning with an eerie light. It was a gaze that seemed to pierce through her, seeing into the very depths of her soul. "Welcome, Helen," his voice rasped, each word a nail scraping against bone. The sound was almost unbearable, a grating noise that made her want to cover her ears and scream, "To my canvas of souls." His words hung in the air, heavy with a sinister promise. She could feel the weight of them pressing down on her, suffocating her with their dark intent. Terror gave way to a chilling realization. This was no ordinary nightmare. This was a place of true horror, a realm where the rules of reality no longer applied. She wasn't just trapped in his world. She was a prisoner in a place where escape was impossible, where every corner held a new terror waiting to be discovered. She was going to be a part of it. Her fate was sealed, her soul destined to join the countless others that had been captured and immortalized in the Candyman's twisted gallery. Part of me.